For decades, the advice was clear. Put down the eggs. Your doctor said it. The morning news repeated it. That little pamphlet in the waiting room confirmed it. Eggs meant cholesterol. Cholesterol meant heart disease. And heart disease. Well, that was the thing you spent your whole life trying to avoid. So millions of Americans over 60 did exactly what they were told. They switched to oatmeal. They ordered egg whites. They felt responsible, careful, like they were doing the right thing. But here's what almost nobody told them. The scientists who built that original warning changed their minds, not quietly, buried in a footnote somewhere. Officially, in peer-reviewed research at Harvard, over decades of following hundreds of thousands of real people. And the updated answer isn't what most people over 60 have been living by. Based on a rule the researchers themselves revised, you deserve to know. Always talk to your doctor before changing your diet, especially if you have a heart condition or diabetes. Here's the problem. Dietary cholesterol, the kind you eat, and blood cholesterol, the kind measured in your arteries, are not the same thing. They're related, but the relationship is far more complicated than anyone made it sound. When you eat cholesterol, your liver doesn't simply pile it on top of what it already produces. For most people, the liver adjusts. It dials back its own production to compensate. Your body, it turns out, has a feedback system built right in. Think of it like a thermostat. When the room warms up from outside heat, the thermostat tells the furnace to cool down. Your liver works the same way with cholesterol, sensing what's coming in and adjusting what it makes. That doesn't mean dietary cholesterol has zero effect. In some people, it does raise blood cholesterol more than others. But the original model was too simple. And eventually, the science had to reckon with that. In 1999, a team at Harvard published the first major large-scale look at eggs and heart disease risk. Led by Dr. Frank B. Hu of the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, the study followed more than 37,000 men and 80,000 women over multiple years. Their finding: consuming up to 1 egg per day was unlikely to have a substantial impact on heart disease or stroke risk in healthy men and women. That was significant on its own. But the research kept going. In 2020, the same Harvard team came back with a much larger update. This time, they analyzed data from more than 260,000 people, followed for up to 32 years. They also conducted what became the largest meta-analysis on this topic ever assembled: 28 prospective cohort studies, covering up to 1.7 million participants worldwide. The conclusion held: moderate egg consumption was not associated with higher cardiovascular disease risk in U.S. and European populations. Source: Drouin-Chartier and colleagues, BMJ, March 2020, Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Now, and this matters, the science is not a clean green light for everyone. The same research flagged that people with type 2 diabetes may face a different picture. Some studies found that higher egg intake was associated with increased cardiovascular risk, in diabetic men specifically. If you have diabetes, existing heart disease, or significant cardiovascular risk factors, this is exactly the conversation to bring to your doctor, not a decision to make based on a video. But for healthy adults over 60 without those conditions, the blanket warning doesn't reflect where the evidence landed. Dorothy is 67. She lives outside Columbus, Ohio. She gardens. She walks her neighborhood every morning. She's been paying attention to her health for as long as she can remember. reading labels, watching portions, following the advice she was given. And for 30 years, she hasn't touched a whole egg. Her doctor told her in 1991 that cholesterol was a concern. Eggs were off the table. She trusted that. She still trusts the person who told her, because that person was doing their best with what they knew at the time. But the advice itself came from a moment in science that has since moved on. Dorothy is a composite character, drawn from the patterns documented across large research populations. Studies like the NIH-AARP Diet and Health Study followed over 521,000 Americans between the ages of 50 and 71 for a median of 16 years. Many of them were people exactly like Dorothy, careful, health-conscious, and shaped by the egg warnings of the 1980s and 90s. Source: NIH-AARP Diet and Health Study, PLOS Medicine, 2021. Dorothy didn't do anything wrong. She followed the best guidance available, but science moved, and the updated message didn't always find its way back to the people who needed it most. Here's what gets lost when eggs become nothing but a cholesterol debate. Everything else inside them. A single egg contains about 6 grams of high-quality protein. For adults over 60, that's not a minor detail. Muscle mass declines naturally with age. A process called sarcopenia, which you can think of as your body slowly spending down a savings account. It can't easily refill. Adequate protein, combined with regular movement, is one of the most consistent tools researchers point to for slowing that process. But the nutrient that gets almost no attention, and may matter most for your brain after 60, is choline. Most people have never heard of it. Each egg contains approximately 150 milligrams, and choline is a direct building block for acetylcholine, one of the brain's most important chemical messengers, involved in memory, attention, and learning. A systematic review published in 2025 and indexed on PubMed found that dietary choline intake, in the range of 187 to 399 milligrams per day, roughly the amount in 1 to 2 eggs, was consistently associated with better cognitive performance in healthy older adults. 2 prospective cohort studies within that review found that moderate egg consumers had a lower risk of cognitive impairment compared to those with low intake. Source: PMC Systematic Review, 2025, Egg Intake and Cognitive Function in Healthy Adults. These are associations, not guarantees. The research does not say eggs prevent dementia. What it says is that the nutrients in eggs, particularly choline, appear to support brain function as we age. That's a meaningfully different picture than the one most people over 60 were handed. Choline also plays a role in muscle function. It supports the synthesis of the same acetylcholine. That tells your muscles to contract. A study in adults aged 50 to 69 examined this connection directly, looking at choline intake, resistance training, and changes in muscle strength and lean mass over 12 weeks. Source: PMC, the effect of choline and resistance training on strength and lean mass in older adults. Not a cure, not a reversal of aging. A nutrient that plays a role in 2 of the things that matter most to people over 60: staying sharp and staying strong. Here's something that surprises a lot of people, even those who've been eating eggs for years. How you cook an egg changes what's inside it at a molecular level. Cholesterol, when exposed to very high heat, can undergo a chemical transformation. It forms compounds called cholesterol oxidation products, Researchers call them COPs. These oxidized forms behave differently in the body than regular dietary cholesterol does. Studies suggest they may contribute more directly to inflammation in blood vessel walls. Research on cooking temperatures found that heating above approximately 150 degrees Celsius, that's about 300 degrees Fahrenheit, significantly increases the formation of these compounds in eggs. Source: European Food Research and Technology, PubMed. High temperature and heating effect on oxidative stability of dietary cholesterol in eggs. In plain terms, a crispy-edged egg fried in very hot oil, or a scramble cooked hard until browned at the edges. These methods produce more of those oxidized byproducts than gentler cooking does. The lower-risk method is simpler than most people expect. Boiling, soft or hard, keeps the egg away from direct high heat and added oil entirely. Poaching works the same way. A low-heat scramble, pulled off the pan while still soft, is far preferable to a high-heat fry. This isn't about one fried egg ending your health. It's about what you're doing consistently, over time, if eggs become a regular part of your mornings again. Gentle heat. No oil scorching. The egg doesn't need to be crispy to do its job. Let's pull this together, clearly, without overselling it in either direction. For healthy adults over 60 without diabetes or significant cardiovascular risk factors, the large-scale evidence, including Harvard's 2020 analysis covering more than 260,000 people, does not support the conclusion that one egg per day meaningfully raises heart disease risk. The original 1960s warning overstated the link between dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol. For most people, the liver adjusts. The feedback system exists. The research caught up with that reality. At the same time, the science is not unanimous. Some studies do find associations between higher egg intake and increased mortality risk, particularly above one egg per day, or in people with existing health conditions. This is not something to resolve with a video. What the evidence clearly supports. 1. Eggs contain nutrients, particularly choline and high-quality protein, that are genuinely relevant to brain and muscle health after 60. 2. Cooking method matters. High-heat frying increases oxidized cholesterol compounds. Gentle cooking, boiling, poaching, low-heat scrambling, keeps that risk lower. 3. Context matters more than any single food. An egg eaten alongside vegetables and whole foods carries a different profile than the same egg next to processed meat and refined carbohydrates. And 4. If you have diabetes, heart disease, or high LDL cholesterol, this conversation belongs with your doctor, not because eggs are automatically off the table, but because your individual health picture is what determines the right answer for you. This is health education, not medical advice. Please talk to your doctor before making significant changes to your diet. Dorothy went back to her doctor last spring. Not because of a video, because she had enough updated information to know the conversation was worth having. Her doctor reviewed her current labs, her overall diet, her cardiovascular risk profile, and gave her a specific answer for her specific situation. That's what the science actually asks of all of us. Not blind loyalty to a decades-old rule, not reflexive rejection of it either. An updated conversation with real information matched to your real life. The egg isn't the enemy it was made out to be for most healthy adults over 60. But the most important thing you can take from today isn't a new breakfast plan. It's a better question to bring to the person who knows your full health picture. Now, if this kind of honest, evidence-first look at foods you've been second-guessing for years is useful to you, the next video covers another nutrient that researchers now believe most Americans over 60 are seriously underestimating. It has nothing to do with supplements, and the answer might surprise you. Watch it next.